Hello everybody, good evening. Thank you for joining me. We are going to be making hoggy, which is the Making It Monday project for this week. And of course we are a little bit late this week for obvious reasons, but it needed to be done, and I'm really pleased to be here on a Friday evening sharing this hour with you, and we're going to be making hoggy. And it's just adorable, isn't it? If I move out the way, which way shall I go? That way. You can see Jackie's original design. And that's what inspired Kath, certainly, to create the pattern for it. But also, I thought it was a wonderful, wonderful example of what you could do with obviously my new template. And now, of course, in the pattern, you do get a copy of the template to the exact size. So as long as you print out actual size from your printer, then you will get the exact size of the template. And to be honest, even if it's a little bit out, it won't matter. So I wouldn't worry at all about that. Just print it and enjoy. All the dimensions would stay the same. You know, the equalness of the dimensions would stay the same regardless. And of course, because you've got the PDF download here, you could actually make the template bigger or smaller. So the world's your oyster. Those of you that have my new acrylic template, then obviously you'll enjoy using that to cut up all your bits and bobs. And it was lovely because on this particular design, Jackie used the main leaf shape. Well, I know it doesn't look like a leaf, but you know the story behind it now, I'm sure. But she used the exact leaf shape to create the hoggy body. And then, of course, the half square triangles to create the prickles, which run along the back of our lovely hoggy, and of course the border. And of course the other thing is this was made, probably we're coming up to probably a couple of months ago, perhaps maybe 6 weeks. So you know what, hoggy has been around on my desk for some time now, and at the end of the month, that's next week, they'll all be winging their way back to all of the admin team. I don't keep them, I haven't got room, so all of the admin team will get a bar one, which is going to be a gold pattern next month for those of you that are a gold member. And yes, so they'll be winging their way back to their owners next week, which will be lovely because it means that I have a little bit more room in my room because they were prolific. Well, you can see behind me some of the makes. We've got two hazels here, obviously one that Kath made, one that I made. Then we've got another pouch here that our Nicola made, and if you're very, very good, you can have that as a mim on Monday. And then of course we've got hoggy here, and then we've got another little design here, the zinnia, which we made last week. I'm just trying to remember all the weeks. Now, of course, if you are a gold member and you've made zinnia, this does count towards your autumn challenge. And the autumn challenge closes next Friday, I think it is. Yeah, I think it's next Friday. And me and the admin team are going to be working on all of the pictures, deciding who's the winner. But that's the gold members only. Okay, that's the gold members only. And a bit naughty of me to discuss gold when some of you are not. So anyway, we are going to be making hoggy, and you can see I love this photo that our Kath took. She was on the Hollybobs and she took this photo on a really lovely sunny day, and she'd met up with some of the gang up north. I don't think she was as far as Scotland then, and she's actually on her way home now. And they were having tea together, I think, and maybe the odd gin. I don't know. I'm not going to tell tales. I think there was something about ice cream sundaes. That might have been this week. They've been really indulging themselves in treats. Anyway, that's what we're going to make. So I'm not going to mess about. I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to try and put this somewhere I can see it, because obviously I want to try and follow Kath's pattern. Her interpretation, obviously, of Jackie's hoggy. That's what it is. Very, very, very similar. And I'm going to change it again because this is the thing about any of the patterns. If you want to change it because it doesn't suit your circumstances or your colour scheme or whatever it is, or you want to make a table mat instead of a wall hanging, or tonight we're going to make a cushion cover. And I've just remembered I haven't brought my cushion pad in, but I might steal the Children in Need's cushion pad at the end, see if we can make it fit. Yeah, so obviously you can make what you like, but I will, when we get to the point about the tabs, you know, for hanging, I will talk to you about that, but I won't be making them. I think they're pretty sort of self-explanatory, and Kath has done a brilliant job as usual of writing the pattern and making it lovely and clear for us. So without further ado, we'll have a little look. Oh, Jackie says that was in Scotland. That was the ice cream sundaes. Listen, you lot, you've had so much chocolate, gin, ice cream sundaes and goodness knows what. I've lost track. And I haven't been at all jealous. Not at all. So we're going to move on. I'm just looking at some of the comments. Oh, lovely, lovely, lovely. Obviously, if you're on YouTube, then you'll have your own set of comments to watch. If you can watch over on Facebook, you'll see those comments. And obviously, if you're seeing this afterwards on YouTube, because you're not in the Making It Monday group and you're not on my page, and you'll see the YouTube version, there won't be any comments. So I try to keep them as a minimum, otherwise they don't make any sense if you watch this in a year's time. So let's crack on and start cutting some bits and pieces out. I've done quite a bit of work because Hoggy is made up of lots of little prickles. There, lots of little prickles. I've got that. I can bring it down if you want, but we're going to make mine. And they all need to be turned through and pressed and prepared. So I've got 2 to make. I've made all the others. And you'll see in the pattern how many you need to make and what are the processes. That's the main thing. So good evening to you all. I think I've said that. I just want to make sure I'm saying good evening to you. And it's just so lovely to be here on a Friday evening. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. I really, really do. So if we go on the overhead now, I'll just move my machine just a little bit out of the way. One or two of the bits and pieces I haven't done, and this is the Heat and Bond, Bond-Aware, Steamer Seam, whatever you prefer to use. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm using Heat and Bond. I find it much easier to peel away, especially if I'm demonstrating. And what you need to do is use your template, either the paper one or the acrylic one, to create and cut your main body. Now, if you have it so the right side of the fabric is facing up and the right side of your pattern is facing up, as you can see it there, your hoggy will be facing to the right. Okay, so you might want to do what the pattern is and turn your template over and use it that way, or you can of course put the wrong side of your Heat and Bond, the paper side, up, and you can have your template the right side up. And obviously you can't see it very well now, but you just about see my name there. And obviously you can place it so it's right side up. But just so it's better visually for you to see, I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to try not to make it flash, but you know it will. And I'm going to use the rotary cutter to cut this out, and I just wish I couldn't get this to flash for you, and I am going to ask my John to actually move the light so it doesn't flash and we can look at things properly without all that glare. But in the meantime, we're just going to have to go for it, and I'll do the best I can for you. I'm so sorry. So obviously you're going to use a rotary cutter, or if you're using your paper template, I suggest you get a ruler and you follow the edge of the ruler with your paper template, and that will give you a sharp line, and B, protect your template for other projects. You could mount your paper template onto card to make it a bit more sturdy, but this is how I would do it. So assume that's the paper template. I would be using a little ruler over the top just to give me some lovely straight lines. You could of course draw around it and then cut it out from your drawing. Okay, now in the pattern, Kath suggests that you draw on the Heat and Bond first not with a heat erasable pen, with a regular one. and then you can just roughly cut out your shape. But to be perfectly honest, I prepared this, I didn't have the time to mess about, so I apologise for that. So I'm just going to stand up, because I need to stand up to actually cut this out, because I need that strength. If you've got some upper body strength, then obviously you're going to use your upper body to move your to cut your fabric. I'm sorry, I'm waffling. So just be careful with your fingers. For anybody that's watching, please don't criticise me for cutting towards me. I know what I'm doing, and all of that. And I always get people complaining about that. So don't, basically. So there we are. So we've cut out our little hedgehog. And all we need to do is attach his eyes. Now I've already drawn those out, and like I said to you, I've drawn on the fabrics with the heat erasable pen, because but Kath has said you draw on the back of your heat and bond, whatever it is, and then you roughly cut, and then you cut a little bit neater, okay? But because of time restraints, I'm literally going to just sort of snip this away. I'll pop that in the bin because I don't need it. And this is a heat erasable, so you mustn't worry that we'll have lots of lovely blue marks on our fabric. It'll all go away. If you're worried about ghost lines, things like that, test on your fabric first with your heat erasable pen. But at the end of the day, you're probably going to be stitching these eye pieces down. I would say if it's going to be something you're going to wash, then, but yes, definitely stitch these down. If it's something that's going to be just hung up on a wall or something like that, don't bother. Just enjoy the fact that you've created a lovely little hedgehog. He's just adorable. So I'm turning my iron on now, my little iron. And what we need to do is just peel back the paper. And like I say, heat and bond is very, very easy to peel away. It really is much, much easier than Bondaweb. You can see it's just literally fallen off. And then we're going to position this. And when we look at the pattern, Kath has given us an idea of where to place all these pieces. So I'll just get my little mat. And I would suggest that you give him an eyeball, you know, a little black piece. But a nice little French knot would do that. Or you could just use a regular pen. It would be absolutely fine. And Kath says, yes, there's more ways to do things than we say. Absolutely, 100%. Gosh, we would never say this is the only way that you should do anything. And I'm always open to suggestions for all sorts of things. Yeah, I'm always open to new ideas, and I'll always try it out just to see what I feel about it. So this is our little hedgehog, isn't he adorable? He's got his eyes stuck down. Just give it a moment, you know, hold your eye on it for 4 or 5 seconds. Make sure that glue has melted onto your fabric. So all of your layers are now glued down. It's super. Then what we need to do is position our little hoggy. Yes, we need the bigger mat on our piece of fabric, and I've chosen some really random colours today. I just wanted to do something a little bit more different than Kath and Jackie, so you'll be surprised when you see the border actually. So what we need to do is place Hoggy down. You could put him right in the centre, yeah, but you've got to remember he's going to have prickles here. So if your prickles go over the edge, then he might want to come over this way a little bit, okay? But you might, you know what I mean, you might not want to sort of judge it. So I'm going to leave that for you to decide. If you want him right in the middle, then obviously you could fold your fabric like this, give it a little crease. So we've got a crease mark there, a little crease mark there. And we know that perhaps you can't see that, but that is the centre, and I can pop him there. So, the choice is yours, but we'll leave him there. And then all we're going to do is peel this away. Now, a little tip, especially with the heat and bond, is to get your thumbnail and just scrape it along the paper of your heat and bond or whatever you're using, and that separates it. Look, you get this lovely separation, and that works every single time. Just scrape it, you can see, look, it's just split that lovely, and it saves you scrapping away, especially with a pin, because a pin can actually damage your fabric, and I know it's quite a popular thing to do. So let's just position him about sort of, I'm just going to look, because I want to know where his prickles are going to go, sort of up there. So let's pop him down. And this would make a lovely reading cushion. If any of you have bought the Children in Need bear, and I'd like to think that all of you have, and don't forget our autumn bear is still available. We've got a new bear launching next week. But please go and download. We're well over £5,000 now. It's quite incredible. And we can have a look at him later if you like. So there we are. So I'm going to actually go on to the back and also make sure that that's glued down and all that heat is transferring from the back onto the back of my hoggy, and he's well and truly stuck now. The other thing you can do now, and we'll do that, is to stitch around just to secure that. Now you could obviously stitch before you put the eyes on, or you can stitch afterwards. I mean, to be honest, you know, you're going to go fairly close to that edge there. I'm just going to remove that little thread because that's annoying me. If you like our Nicola, she'll probably blanket stitch all the way around. That's her thing, and sort of like her trademark a little bit. So that's the sort of thing that you might want to do. So let's just switch the machine on, and we'll just go around the edge of that and just sort of top stitch it. So even though it's a top stitch, because it's a plique, I'm going to stick at my normal 2.4. I've got some dark grey, well, greyish thread in here, but you might want to colour match your threads to your hoggy and all of that. I'm going to let you decide what you're going to do with that. I'm just going to move this to the centre. That's it, 2.4, we're fine. And then I'm just going to go around. Now I'm starting and stopping. I'll just take you on a different angle. I'm starting and stopping on this top corner here, because if I start and stop anywhere here, we'll see it. Okay, so we're just going to start and stop, you know, in case you have your little back stitch or something like that, then you'll see it if you start and stop just here. So we're just going to go all the way around. You'll have to forgive me if my thread looks not too bad. I kind of picked a neutral one out because there's lots of different colours in my hoggy. You might want to do all the same sort of colours. You know, you could do completely, just making sure I'm lined up there. You could do a completely brown prickly one, or rusty coloured prickles, or something like that. You don't have to do what we're doing. As Kath says, there's more than one way. Oh, she's absolutely right there. So we'll just cut that. I'll find my lovely little scissors. If anybody wants some beautiful scissors, go and get some Karen K. Buckley scissors. They are absolutely gorgeous. They've got these silicone handles and they're squidgy, and they're beautiful, beautiful, beautiful scissors. Oh, that's all right, pickle on the back there. I'll show you so you can see. I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to cut any of that away. But it's secure, and we're going to put the prickles over the top of that, so it's absolutely fine. Yeah, so the next stage is to do the prickles. Now I'll keep you there because that's quite a good angle to be at. I'll bring my mat up and I'll show you what I've done so far. Now I stitched these with cream thread, which was possibly a mistake because you can see some of the cream thread, but by the time we've laid all these prickles out, it'll be fine. So I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We need to do 11. So I'll just show you what I've done. And we're going to stitch those two there. So I've got those two ready To be honest, I thought I had done 10, but I found this pair of green ones on the floor as I came up this evening to do this live, so I obviously didn't count the ones I did. So what we've got here is the half square triangle part of this. I wonder if I put it there, yeah, it's not too bad, is it? Let's keep it there. So if you've got the acrylic template, you're cutting on that solid line that goes down there. Likewise with the paper pattern. Now because you could print 2 of these templates off, and you could cut this and make, you know, you've got your leaf and then you've got your half square triangle, or you can just kind of fold it back and use it like that, or you cut your 2.5 inch strips and that's where you lie your you lie the solid line on the raw edge. And if you haven't seen the video, please go and see the video on YouTube on how to use the templates. It's there for everybody to see. So what you need is using your half square triangle, you need to cut 22 of these, but you're cutting pairs, so you need 11 colours. Now, I'm sure you're all capable of finding 11 beautiful colours in your stash, because I suspect you've probably got a stash, and if you haven't, you should have. So we're going to stitch these 2 now. Okay, so I'm going to keep you there. I'm going to talk you through how I stitch mine. Now I'm lucky because I've got a 1/4 inch foot, if you like. Well, it's a setting actually. I don't want to lie to you. It's a setting, so it makes it nice and super easy. So foot down. You need to leave a turning gap of about 1 inch, not much. You're going to do a couple of stitches forward and a couple of stitches back. Okay, just securing your turning gap. And I tell you what else you can do. If you've got the acrylic template, you can get your heat erasable pen and use the holes here, here and here, so you know where you're going to stop and start on your corners, how to get that perfect 1/4 inch seam allowance. So draw your dots, and then you know you're going to stitch from dot to dot. Really, really useful to have that. And I'll maybe show you on the other one before I stitch it. So up to the point, and you're leaving the longest edge open. Well, would that be the longest edge? Do you know, I haven't measured it. I'm sure it is. And then it's just one more stitch. It's always one more stitch, isn't it? Because it always looks like it's too near, and it really isn't. So then you're just coming along a little way, and then you're backtracking a couple of stitches and then cutting. So if I was to show you that, you can see what that looks like now. And we've left a little gap here. Okay, that's our turning gap, and you don't want to be stitching that up at all. Absolutely no point. But I want to talk to you about how you cut these bits away to make them a little more pointy and a little bit neater. So if we go back to this angle here, and I get my heat erasable pen, let's try and keep that there. I'm going to just put my template over the top. Now with your paper pattern, you will still have an opportunity to mark your 1/4 inches. So don't think this is just, you're not included in this. So I'm going to turn that over to make it fit, thereabouts. And all I'm going to do is put my pen in there and make a little dot. It doesn't have to be heat erasable. It can actually be any pen you like. And you can see now, if I bring this in, you can see you've got your 3 dots there of where you're going to stitch up to, and it's much, much easier to have that as a sort of a guide. So we're going to do the same again. Let's just try and get these lined up a little bit better. So we're going to start, I don't know, what is it, about 1 inch from the corner, from the point. So a couple of stitches forward, a couple of stitches back, and then just up to where you made that little mark, And then along the side, stop where that little mark is if you can. If you can't, don't worry. Nothing's going to happen to your hoggy if you miss that mark. Whoops, no, I went one stitch too far, so back along, and then we're coming along again, little way, a couple of stitches back just to lock that turning gap, and it really does make a difference. Okay, so that's what it looks like now. Okay, so the next bit is going to be quite interesting. I do like interesting things. So I'm bringing my iron in again, and you might think, well, what's the point of that? Well, there's always a point. There's always a point. So first thing we're going to do is set the seams. So we'll make them a nice flat little triangle, and we're going to just take these edges back. So where our turning gap is here, we're just going to take those edges back. I need to do it so it's better for me. I'm just going to snip that little thread off there because that always annoys me that we have that thread. That's it. Get rid of that. Don't need that. So you're just going to roll that back and take it back a little bit further than where you started stitching, and just press it. It gives you an opportunity to give your fabric a little bit of memory of that edge there, because that isn't stitched, it's still open, but it's beautiful because we've done this little bit of pressing. And then you're flipping it over, and then you're folding back the other side. So let's just do that. You could fold all the way along here if you want to. I mean, it's just not necessary, but you can. Okay, so you can do that. So there's our lovely, excuse me, beautiful fold there. And the same with this one. And obviously when you turn it through, you're going to crease it a bit. So don't expect to have the perfect fold again. It's going to be a little bit creased. But the thing is, you've given the fabric some memory. And it will easily go back into shape, a nice straight line. So there we are. That'll do nicely. So I'll just keep my eye on there for a minute. Oh, you can't see it, but it's just here. Look, there it is. And the next stage is to cut. Now then, what you need to do is fold that back, and you need to just sort of go at an angle. So rather than going straight across here, let me move that out of the way. Rather than going straight across the point like you'd think you would do, you need to go more like that. Okay, so it's more of an exaggerated cut. With this one, you come in from about 1/2 inch and you go straight up, and then you do the same but come down. So that's the sort of look that you want. Okay, I hope you can see that okay. And for this one as well, you're going to go across, and you're going to go across. Okay, so you end up with a funny sort of shape, really. Now where's the other one gone? Here we go. So we'll do that again. So we'll go start about 1/2 inch away, thereabouts. Don't measure it, and just snip it like that. Yeah, hopefully you can see okay. And then the same with that. So you don't want to go right up. You don't want to cross over like that. It doesn't take a lot of bulk away, I'll be honest with you. So you need to take some of this fabric away here. You still will not get the sharpest of points, but you've got to forgive yourself a little bit, I think, for that. But that's much you've got a much more fighting chance of getting a point with that. So if we look at perhaps one that I've made, let's find one that's half decent, because you know, rush everything. That's the sort of thing that you're trying to achieve. Okay, looks like a tortilla or something. Right, so I'll just keep my eye on there, but I'm quite conscious that it's clicking away. Now, to turn it through, you do need a decent, nice tool. Now, this is a turning tool, but I've never actually used it for what it's supposed to be for. but you could use a knitting needle. If you've got a nice knitting needle with a really lovely blunt end to it, size 10 I think is quite a good one, I think, unless I'm going the wrong way. But anyway, you need a fairly bluntish point here. This is perfect, okay? And then if you want to bring the corners out, my stiletto is perfect, and I'll show you how I do that. So obviously you're going to turn this through, and they do take a minute, all right? So if anybody's, Marge or if Diana are following along with me, I'd like to think both of you, because they usually do, I'd like to think that you're both ahead of the game and have made your prickles, because they will take you half an hour to stitch and turn through. Now don't be worried if you get so far and you can't push out anymore. Don't force it. There's absolutely no point forcing it, because you'll ruin it and you'll be fed up. So well, I would be. So just, ease it in, that's fine. There we go. So, and that's not bad. It's a little bit blunt on that corner there. So this is where you can get a nice sharp pin, you want a strong pin, okay? You don't want a fine one, and just pop the pointy end in there and just pull it out gently, and that'll give you a finer point. So you're just pulling it out gently. Don't yank it, because you'll rip your fabric. Although of course you could turn it over, it won't be so bad. So can you see how already, because we did that ironing before, we've already got a nice triangle there. So same again, just turn it through, take your time. It's quite nice to sit and do. You could do all the stitching and get your other half to do all your turning for you. They like jobs. Well, John likes jobs. John's very good at jobs. So I don't know how he would feel about turning 11 pairs of prickles, but there we are. I haven't asked him. I might get a short, sharp answer. Like, yes, of course I will. So not too bad, but let's just bring that point out a bit more, if we can. It's always the way when you're showing. Oh, that's it, we got it. And you can just ease it out. If you feel that it's not going to work, that you're in danger of putting your implement through your work, then stop and just have whatever you've created will be beautiful. Much more beautiful than if you didn't create it. Let's put it that way. So let's use our iron. Let's pop that down on the mat. It's a little bit out of kink there, out of kilter. And we'll just give that a little iron. Use some best press if you want to. See that? I'm not happy with that, because that's definitely not out as far as it could be. So we'll just give that, there we are. You can feel it, it kind of just pops out. Yeah, so best press is lovely because it gives it a lovely finish, and also it makes the prickles nice and crispy. And we do like a crispy pickle. Pickle or even a prickle. Oh dear me. Right, now turn my iron off because we absolutely don't want it on now. Not for a little while anyway. Right, so let's bring in our hoggy. So what we need to do now is position. I'm just going to check, make sure I'm right with Kath. I'm pretty sure I am. Yeah. So once you've made all your prickles, you need to position them on hoggy. Now you do need to get your pins in here, because we're going to pin them on and then we'll move them around a little bit and then we'll stitch them on, and we'll only know how to stitch them from the pins. The other thing you can do, of course, is take a picture. So you can put your prickles on, take a picture, and then you know where everything is, and because you're using different colours it helps. So we start at the back and I'm just going to put these down, see how we get on. I'm not too sure of the distance. Let me have a look at Jackie's. Yeah, we're about a 1/4 of an inch or so between each layer. I just want to make sure I'm doing this justice. And so we can sort of turn these around a little bit. You need to cover up his bottom down here, and I might shift these around a bit. See how we get on. I've never laid these down before, so I don't know how they'll go. Oh, we've got loads. Oh well, we'll go to town here, guys. Well, that one matches the background, so I'm going to move that one out of the way. Let's pop that there. Let me have a look at Kath's. I think that one actually could go up there. Underneath. Just layer them so that it goes underneath and then it sort of steps up. So these would be your last. I quite like it with just these ones on. You don't have to use all of them, do you? Oh, I love that orange. Let's pop that down there. We've got one more, so we might as well use it. So shall we stick it there? I don't think it really matters, does it? Oh, I think he looks gorgeous. Let me just check Kath's picture. Oh yes, not too bad at all. It's not quite the same, but I liked how she had that one in the front like that. Oh yes, I like it. And yeah, oh, I could play with these for ages. I like it very much. Super. Yep, I'm happy with that. So I'm going to pin all these down now. So I'll start with the one at the front. So it's going to take a moment to do that. So if you're following along, this perhaps is your moment to catch up. And when we stitch these, we'll stitch each one individually. So we'll start at the top, pull these back, stitch them on. And you want to stitch fairly close to, you want to stitch from there to there. And you want to stitch fairly close to the edge so you catch your turning gap. So I'm really happy with this. But obviously you can have right fun. Get the kiddies involved. If you're a grandma, get your grandchildren involved with this. They'd be more than happy to to lay them down and mess about with them. Yeah. Now, of course, if you use all felts, for instance, they would stick, and you perhaps wouldn't need to do this because it's like fuzzy felt, isn't it? Does anybody ever play with fuzzy felt when you was a kid? I think we all did, didn't we? I think that's probably the only toy we had that was decent. I used to love it. I can't remember which one I had. I think I had a hospital one. Yeah, I think I did. I can't remember anything else. It's all a bit distant memory, isn't it? So what we'll do is I'll just bring that down a little bit, and then we'll step back and have a little look and see what we think. And yeah, that's okay. And we've got a bit of a gap there now. How did that happen? Let's just move that down a bit. Of course they all shift, don't they? If you're moving them, they're going to shift a little bit. Oh, that's a bit better. And there's a bit of a gap there now. How did that happen? I love this. Please, go and get yourself a cup of tea. I'll be here in half an hour and I'll have pinned the last one because I'm having too much fun now. So, oh dear. Let's just settle down. Settle down. You're not supposed to be enjoying yourself. Right, there you go. I think I'm happy with that. She says, moving it again. I'm happy with that now. I'm happy with that now. So, he looks lovely. He looks like a bouquet of flowers, doesn't he? He really does. I think he's super. So, oh, Nicola says she loved her ballerina fuzzy felt. Oh, Jackie had a farm one. Yeah, with the horses and the farms. That's Heidi. Oh, yeah. What did Catherine say? It took me ages to get mine exactly where I wanted them. I kept changing my mind. Kath, if you weren't watching, everybody wasn't watching, and please switch off and let me have 10 minutes of fun. I would actually be repositioning all of these. But actually, I think that looks okay. I'm quite happy with that. He looks like he's been to the hairdressers and he's had a right old, I don't know, what would he have had? A perm and set or something, whatever they have at the hairdressers. Oh dear, I'm just grateful for a haircut when I go. Right, let's just position the beast. So we're going to start at the back. So let me just hold this up. I'm going to start at the back here because I can fold all these other ones away and then start stitching them down. I mean, there's nothing, you know, if you want to start stitching here and fold him back and pin, of course you can do that. You do whatever you like, whatever is comfortable for you. But yeah, so we're on a rocking and a rolling now. So I'm just going to change my needle position back to the middle. It's much more easier, and that's bad English. And all I've done is I've pulled all those back. Look, I'm going to hope that my pieces don't move, and I'm just going to stitch along. Now, of course, you might want to do a little back stitch. Mine doesn't want to move at all. So if you have problems with that, just shift your needle along, because you've got quite a lot of layers there in that corner. So to be honest, I'd rather you didn't go right up to the corner. So a couple of little back stitches and cut your threads, and that's all you're going to be doing. Look, you're just going to stitch along. But like I say, if your machine struggles in any way, then just don't stitch right into the corner where all that bulk is. Please start a little way in. You can always do a little hand stitch there, or a little bit of a glue. Depends what you're going to use this for, doesn't it? So here we go, all the way along, and then a little back stitch just to secure, because you don't want his prickles to be removed. And then we're just slowly working our way towards the front. And just reposition that one. So they're about a 1/4 inch in rows. I suppose they're about a 1/4 inch apart, but there's no rules. Just position them where you like them. And like I say, you could always put a little dab of glue on them if you think they're going to need it. So a little back stitch. I'm sorry my hands are in the way. I've got to hold my prickles. So all the way along. It's a nice bit of stitching actually. Sometimes it's nice to do these sort of things, sort of repetitive designs. So if you're not too sure where to find Hoggy, Hoggy is on the website. If you start at the front page, you'll see lots of little boxes, and you're looking for the MIM box, okay? If you click that, you'll see all the latest MIMs, well, all of the MIMs in there, to be honest. So you'll find them just there. Oh, I've got a thread caught there. There we go. I'll trim that up in a second. So let's do that green one. Yeah, so that's where you find the pattern. And yeah, I mean, it's only £1, so it might be that although perhaps Hoggy isn't for you, maybe Hoggy could be made to go on the front cover of a front pocket or something, on a child's rucksack, something like that. Or it could be that he's going to go on a well, like tonight, he's going to be on a cushion. Let me just snip these threads here because that's annoying me. Yeah, he could go onto a cushion, so he doesn't have to be something like a wall hanging. It can be whatever you want him to be, but the actual design is really quite nice to make, because we're going to end up making this beautiful sort of, it's a square, so you could turn it into a mat just without Hoggy. You could do a little bit of quilting on this piece here, which is the centre of your mat. So it's excuse me, it's got lots of potential. That's what I'm trying to say. So let's keep stitching these down. I think I've got 3 to go. So all the way along. Like I say, don't go right to the end if you think your machine can't take it. Mine's just sitting stitching on the spot, but I'm not worried about that. And my stitching is a little bit to be desired, but that's okay as well. And don't forget, you can use, so if you're a paper crafter, you could use your glitter stickles, that's what I'm trying to think what it's called, your stickles glue, something like that, and give him some sparkle. Or if you've got some of the glitter pens that I've been using recently, you could use them, and you could sort of pretty up his prickles and put lovely, I should have done that other one first, but never mind. You could put some lovely glitter lines on him. You could use pattern fabrics, so he could be really classy and have a little bit of William Morris fabric or something like that. So lots of ideas of what you can do with our lovely hoggy. And of course the pattern does give you the template, and I know that a lot of the ladies have used the pattern and then come back to me for the actual acrylic template. Well, I don't expect you to do that, but obviously that option is there. So there we are. So there's all his prickles done, and we just need to trim him a little bit. So let's just do that. Let's get that done nice and neat. And obviously you could put more prickles on, or gosh, you know, the world's your oyster really. I think I've moved most of these. I don't think they're quite how I positioned them at all, but that's okay. That's okay. We're okay about any of that. Right, so that's our lovely main hoggy done. I think he looks absolutely gorgeous, and of course he's 3D, so if you've got a little one coming to stay or to play, or you're making it for a little one, that would be lovely for them to hold and to sort of fiddle with and play. I think it's super. So the next thing we're going to do is create the border. Now I have done quite a bit of work on that because I didn't want you to get bored. We've only got 10 minutes left, and we should be okay. So with the border, in the pattern, let me show you the front of the pattern. You can see that Kath has repeated the colours that she's used for hoggy on the border, and of course you can do that if you want to. I'm going to do mine slightly differently, as I said, but really all you're doing is cutting out the template shape as she's explained, and you're joining the two together, and I'll show you how to do that right this second. And you're going to then stitch that onto your main square, and we're practically done then. So what I've already done is created my border. Now I've done it in this sort of, I don't know what sort of pattern it is, but it looks like igloos, doesn't it? And I've deliberately done it so some of them are upside down and some of them are the right way up, because if you tried to match designs like this you would fail miserably. So I've just done it so it looks quite random, and I think that works. So I've done 3, and now I've got to do the 4th one. So if I put that away and bring these in, so I've already stitched these 2 together, and these are the 2 that I'm going to stitch together now. Okay, so if I spread them apart you can see what they look like. So we're going to do right sides together. Let's just get my hoggy out of the way. Right sides together, which gives you this sort of look. And if you want to, you could pop a pin in. You'll very rarely see me do this, but you can pop a pin in and keep them together. And because the dog ears have been cut off for you, you know that's your 1/4 inch start line, and you're coming down to the bottom there. And if I lift that up, that's where you finish stitching. So we're just literally going to stitch across there, press the seams open, the way from to one side. That's what I'm trying to say. Or if you want to, and I'm into this at the minute, you can open up your seam and you can have your seam opening and nice and flat as well. So you can decide for yourselves, because you are grown-ups, what you can do. As like I say, I quite like the open seam look. I think it's quite attractive looking. So let's just move some of my pokey tools out of the way. So we're just going to pop this onto the machine, and we're just going to stitch all the way across. 1/4 inch seam allowance. Try not to stretch these pieces because they're all cut on the bias, and you're just going to cut the threads, and then you'll have created 2 pieces. Now obviously, because I've used the same fabric, you can't see the join very well, but there is an obvious difference because I've got a right side and an upside down, and that's exactly how I wanted it, to give that sort of, because there's no way I could have matched up my lines. So I thought, well, in that case, let's do it purposefully, and you could do exactly the same. So all I'm going to do now is put my 2 pieces right sides together on a short straight edge and just stitch down that short edge all the way along. That would be good. Cut my threads, and then what we're going to do is give this a lovely iron, so we've got a nice finish, nice flat finish. And of course, like I said, you can open your seams up or you can press them towards one side. Because I have used the same fabric, it'd probably be best in this case to open the seams up. So if there is any shadowing, which there won't be because we're using wadding in a minute, you would see, you know, it wouldn't matter. It would not matter a jot. So I'll leave that for you to decide. There's, like I say, there's no rules. So let's get the iron in. The one thing I would say to you is that if you've pushed your seams over one particular way, so if I bring one of these up, you can see that they're all pushed over to there. I would continue with that, okay? And even like, so that doesn't match there, I'm okay with that. But you could, if you wanted to, just neaten those up if you want. I'm not going to lose any sleep over that. So all we're going to do is push those seams over. Now I've still got my dark grey thread in, but so I'll just go with it. It just spoils it for the back of the cushion, but I'm sure you'll forgive me for that. So let's just turn the iron off. Keep making sure I do that. So now it's putting the pieces together with our hoggy front. Now there is a definite technique to this. So what you're going to do is right sides together. Let me just shift that out the way. I'll pin it actually so you can see. Right sides together, and you're going to stitch. Obviously this is longer, yeah? So you're going to stitch from that corner there to about here. You're going to stop, I think in the pattern Kath says you're going to stop about 3 inches away from the end, but a nice little amount, okay? So I would stop stitching about there. That's absolutely fine. So you can pin that on if you want to. And if you need to trim any of this back later, then by all means trim. I'll just put my pin a little bit further in. So with the next one, and I'm not really looking if it works out pattern wise, again we want to actually start, I pull that back a little bit. This one goes into the corner, and I'll put a pin there, and this one hangs over the end, and you'll think, how on earth? But you're not going to stitch right up to this end. If I pull that back, you're going to stop stitching, let's say about there, okay? And I'll put my pin in so you know where you're going to stop stitching. We will end up stitching them together, but not at the moment. Again, with the next one, you're going straight into that corner, so your corners are lined up, and you're going to start stitching from that corner on both pieces. You're going to stitch all the way down, sharp pins, all the way down, and you're going to stop stitching about here, okay? So just put a pin in. I've just got to be careful that I'm not going to put blood on anything. No, I think we're okay. Lovely sharp pins, but by golly, they sting. Again, with that last one, you're just going to start from that corner, pin, go into the middle, and then yeah, we'll just leave that one like that. We'll just come up to there like that. That'll do. That's fine. So that's where you're going to stop, and then we're going to start putting all the other seams together. Okay, so we're going to stitch what I've just done. It looks a bit weird, looks a bit, you've got bits hanging off the end and all sorts of bits going on, but trust me, it works. So let's just go back and start stitching those together. Right, so we start from the corner, and I'm going to put my 1/4 inch allowance on again. And of course, if you've got let's put it on a longer stitch. If you've got a machine foot that does your 1/4 inch, very useful to have. Really is very useful to have. And don't worry about whether anything matches up at the moment, because we can always trim things. It's fine. So we're going to stop stitching about there. So you can see where the corner is. It's here, and I've stopped stitching there. So I'm turning my work, and I'm going to start stitching the 2 pieces from that corner there. So if I move that, you can see those 2 pieces meet up. So it's only on one corner. The other corner, well, it's all flapping around, but I promise you it works. And just keep to your 1/4 inch seam allowance if you can, and just go as far as you want to. Break the threads. So you're about 2 or 3 inches from the end. You can see I'm just moving that out of the way, and off we go again. So as long as you're okay about this, will go over about 10 minutes, then we'll get it finished. See how we get on. So I'm stopping about, again, 2 or 3 inches from the end, flapping that little piece out the way. And then this is the last one. And all of this is in the pattern. Kath explains very well, very clearly, how to do this part. If you can't follow me, if you think I'm doing gibberish, then then you can follow the pattern, and you'll see how it works. Okay, so now we've created this. You can see, look, that's where I've stopped, and that's where I started the next one. So I'm keeping hold of this bit, and I'm just going to lay that over the top, and like some magic, pretty much. It's not perfect, but it just about meets. Okay, so I'll show you that again. So that's where I stopped stitching. That's my corner piece. So if I bring that back, you can see how that works. Fold that back. Make sure your seams are facing out. So your seam is going out. Place that over the top. And I must admit, it must be my seam allowance because that's not quite meeting, but I'm okay with that because I'll trim it. And then all you're going to do is start stitching again from where you stopped, a little bit further back, about 1/2 inch, and then you're just continuing that seam. And we'll do that on all 4 corners. So let's just do that. Make sure, like I said, your seam is facing out. There we go. Oh, I'll tell you why that doesn't fit, because I should have trimmed it. Now, that's a good point. And you know the centre panel here, I should have trimmed that back. I remember this now. Trim the panel to 10.5. So we needed to trim that panel, but you know what? It's fine. We can just trim all our strips to fit. It's absolutely no problem. So I'm sorry if you're following me and I've just told you wrong. I just remembered, I'm thinking, why doesn't that fit? Because it should. It's because we needed to trim our panel back to 10.5 inches. Now, if you haven't got to the stitching stage yet, and you've just pinned, then just unpin it and just trim your panel back. I bet Kath was really shouting at me from her wherever she's stopped. There she is, in her room, wherever, on her way home from her hollybobs. So you can see how it's working. You can see how this ends up. So although it kind of looks, you think, oh gosh, how on earth is that going to work? It absolutely does. You've just got to trust yourself. And on every overhang it sits overhung by about 1/4 inch, which of course is exactly what we should have trimmed off. So, but I'm okay with that, seriously. So now we've created our border and I really love it, absolutely love it. Kath says, shall me? Never. Yes. So now, as long as you've pushed that, oh sorry, let me just change the position for you. As long as you have pushed those seams out, so when we look at it, your seams should all come away from your centre, then it will sit absolutely beautifully. I'm going to get the iron on it again. I shall need the iron anyway because I need to stabilise this now. And I'm going to trim it as well because obviously I'm trimming at the wrong time. Oh dear. But we can just make ours just that wee bit smaller. It's fine. Although I haven't pressed it, I'm just going to trim it a little bit now. But you can press yours. I'm just waiting for my iron to warm up a bit. There we go. See, it hardly makes a difference. But you can see how the corners go, don't they look great? And it's such a lovely way of creating a really neat corner. Let's see, that's it, that'll do. Yeah, it's just a great way of creating a corner that flows really well. And yeah, Kath has made a really good job of this. Well, so has Jackie. And if it wasn't for Jackie's beautiful pattern, we wouldn't be doing this now. So let's get this a little bit pressed. So I just want to make that look absolutely gorgeous. So you're just pushing those seams out like that. There we go. Just make sure they go out. They might not want to because you've got a lot of seams going on. You know, when we look at the back, can you see we've got lots of seams? That's the trouble if you're using dark thread and the background is quite a nice sort of creamy colour. That's why it's yellow, I suppose. And all of this fabric here, this one and this one, came from Higgs and Higgs. And all this fabric came from Oh So Sweet. Those of you who know Lorraine and Jeff, especially Jeff with his snake, you'll know who I'm talking about. And they know exactly what fabrics I had. And all the ladies in the admin team all had the same fabrics. So, and it all came from Lorraine and Jeff. Bless them. Well, bless them. I did pay for it. But so there we are. So there's our front done. It's quite nice, isn't it? I'm going to zoom out so you can see it a little bit better. And then we'll just quickly do the back. So let me just take that out a wee bit. There we go. Couldn't be any slower, could it? And then what we're going to do is put our Bonder web on there. So we've got a little bit more ironing to do yet. But I'm going to try to do that as quickly as I can. And just, this probably won't fit now because obviously we've sort of gained, no, we've gained a little bit, haven't we? But although I have trimmed, so we should be okay. Now, if you lot weren't here, I would be putting this under my Singer clothes press, my Singer heat press. That's the bestest thing I have ever purchased, because this whole piece would go in there and it would stick it straight away. We're a little bit out on the seams, but I'm okay with that. Well, it's bound to be, isn't it? Because it's not quite the right size. Sally says, just beware of Jeff's jokes. Yes. Well, I mean, we might be doing a live together again. I don't know if any of you caught the live I did with Jeff and Lorraine. I don't know, was it 3 or 4 months ago, perhaps? On this page, so you could look at videos and find it. And yes, it was just absolutely fabulous. We had a ball, and they're great pals. Great pals. Jeff and his snake. If you don't know what his snake is, then just go and look them up. They do Facebook Lives 2 or 3 times a week, I think. And yeah, they're lovely, 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 lovely people. Really lovely, very genuine, no hidden agenda. They want to help you as much as they want to help themselves. You know what I mean? It's a two-way thing. Yeah, that doesn't happen very often these days. Very rare. So it's lovely, 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 lovely to be part of that. Okay, so that's just about done. To be honest, I would still want to put it under my heat press to give that a bit more sticky time, you know, to sort of really get that bonded. But I think for the purposes of this, we'll call it a day. And there's that's that little bit there that definitely needs gluing down. There we go. I'm happy with that. That will do nicely. Okay, so quick. At this point, you're going to put your tabs in. Okay, so you're going to find the centre, which will be about here. Find the centre. Obviously, all you need to do is fold this in half, give it a squidge, and put one tab in there. And I'm sure Kath has given you measurements, but then you're going sort of there and there to put your tabs in. So you want to fold them in half, make them up. They're just little strips that you can make up, and then fold them there so you have a loop, and you're putting the raw edges against the raw edges of your piece. Okay, so you have one there, one there, one there. Okay, if you're making the wall hanging, but I'm not. I've decided I wouldn't. So, oh look, that needs a bit of an iron. Let's ignore it. So all I want to do now is put my wadding on here. Now I know my wadding doesn't fit deliberately. Okay, now I'm going to spray my H250. This is not the same as spraying your fabric. You could of course spray your wadding and lay it over the top, but I am protecting my fabric by using the H250. Okay, so in any other circumstances, you never, ever, ever spray your fabric. You only ever spray your wadding. So I'm just going to lay this over the top, and you'll see that I've used my scrappy pieces and I've joined them together with some double-sided tape. There is a name for it, and that escapes me. And the reason why this is cut a little bit bigger is because it allows me just that little bit of flexibility of making sure that my piece is big enough, because there's nothing worse for me. This could be different for you, but for cutting it, I'm going to stand up to cut this. It's not quite right, but there we are. Nothing worse than cutting and then you're too short and it's not quite right. So it's better for me to cut it always a little bit bigger than you would with a quilt, and then you can adjust and trim and make it to your design, to your size. So if this is not the right size for you, for instance, then you know, cut it down. The actual design of your template pieces, and you hardly see them now, that will not change. You've just made them slightly narrower, that's all. So yeah, it works a treat. Absolutely works a treat. This template is amazing. I have never seen so many things designed from it. Looks amazing. So there's our fabulous hoggy, and obviously then you're either going to put your tabs in, or like me, you're not. So we need the back. Now I do believe Kath has done the cushion back, not intentionally for a cushion, but just because it's easy. It's very easy. So you're going to take your two long pieces. She's given you the measurements. We're going to turn our two long edges facing each other. Make sure your pattern is the same. So if you've got directional fabric like me, just make sure they're exactly the same. You're going to turn over quarter of an inch again, you're going to top stitch. Okay, we'll do that now. So I hope you don't mind me being a little bit over the hour. I know most of you don't mind, but some of you be bored of my voice by now. So don't forget which ones you're doing. So fold over once, fold over again. You might want to press this because it's certainly a lot easier to stitch when it's pressed. And then all we're going to do is go all the way down with a lovely top stitch. And to be honest, you'll probably use a cream thread if you were to use fabric like this. But it'll just take me, you know, just too long to change my threads and everything. So we'll just keep going. And anyway, at the end of the day, it's a cushion, and this bit will be on the back. So I'm okay about that. So there's one. So don't forget, we've got to make sure that we doing the right, we're doing the long sides. Let's just fold that over, all the way along. Gosh, this needle's blunt. I did some demonstrating in the gold group last night with denim, and I changed my needle and I put the old one back in. What a fool. I should have taken the opportunity to have changed it. And it's really blunt. I can't remember changing it in this machine. That's dreadful, because I've been telling you after 8 hours stitching, change your needle. Here comes Millie. Millie, my dog. Yeah, are you okay, Millsy? Are you okay? Yeah, you come to see what's happening? Good girl. Yeah. Oh, you're cold. Have you been outside? Right. So let's go on the overhead so you can see what the next bit is. Let's push that away. So we've done our 2 long seams, and now we're going to do right sides together. So, and I know my backs might be slightly, oh, what's she got? Hold on. What have you got? No, they're pins, Millie. You can't have pins. I knew there were pins there, that's why I leapt up, because she will eat them if she thinks that they're going to be any tasty. Right, so right sides together. Don't forget, this is your hoggy, so you want to make sure your fabric is going the right way if it's directional, because that is quite important. So just do that. Now I know that this is going to be a little bit bigger, but I'm okay about that as well, because I always stitch on this one, because this is the one that's got to be right. Fold that over on the back there. Get these edges lined up, because that's important, and I can pop some pins in just to hold. Ooh, what's that on there? Bit of muck. So just hold those in place, and then let's get that one lined up. There we go. Now, of course, because I'm putting a cushion in here, this is not a very large overlap here. Look, you can see it's not massive, but so you can always make these a little bit wider if you want to. Now, the important thing is to make sure that these stay exactly where you put them. So pin top and bottom. Now, I am going to be stitching from the front, so I'm keeping these pins quite a way away from my seam, because I don't want to catch them in my machine. In fact, I'll move those back, but I'd rather do this seeing these cushion parts, if you like, than the front. This is more important that I get this right. So now I'm going to just pop a pin in the middle there, if I can, because there's hoggies right behind there. That's it. I'm just going to flip that over. And you can see, if I do it this way, you can see that the top and bottom is a little bit bigger, and that is perfectly fine, perfectly fine. Because in actual fact, if anything, I would always run this over my, use my overlocker now. I always use an overlocker for my cushions. Right, so 1/4 inch. I'm going to increase the stitch length so we can whiz these. Put more pins if you need to. Don't stint on your pins. Use a walking foot as well, because you've got lots of layers. You can see I'm pushing through my fabric a little bit. Let me just move my microphone. And go right into the corner. I really strongly suggest you use your overlocker. And if you've got one and it's sitting there being idle, please get it out and use it for these sort of projects. They're absolutely perfect for making cushions, and because they're so strong, especially when you're turning or putting your cushion pad inside. It needs to be lovely and strong. So just all the way along. I'm being very cautious. I don't want to catch my machine on with the pins. My machine is worth far more than my Taylor Seville pins. I don't want to jeopardise my machine at all. So as you're coming back, make sure that it's not pleated here, because sometimes it gets pleated here if you're not careful. There we go. And I go straight over. I don't worry about back stitching. So we're done actually. So I'm just going to take my pins out. I'll keep you there for a moment. And obviously you're going to trim the excess fabric away. And if you haven't got an overlocker, I strongly suggest that you zigzag all of this. Trim it back a little bit and zigzag it to make it super duper strong, because it's really important for a cushion to be super duper strong. So there we are. So let's turn it through. Now look, I'll leave you to decide, because you're grown up. You can decide for yourself how to turn your corners. Obviously this would be trimmed away. Let's do that so visually it's correct. There we go, that's trimmed. I would suggest not trimming these corners back. If you wanted to, you could fold your seams in and then turn it through so it's like that, and you should get a fairly decent point, so you can fold it back on itself. I'll do it that way so you can see. If you wanted to, you can do it that way. But you've got quite a lot of wadding there and H250, so it's not always possible to do your fancy turns. What I would do here is just turn it through. So let's just turn it through. And obviously I would have trimmed all my edges. So I'm going to put this under my overlocker tomorrow. You'll have a demo on the overlocker. Well, an overlocker is pretty boring, to be honest. I've done a couple of videos on how to make things with the overlocker, but the trouble is everybody's overlockers are different. And although I could show you the settings on mine, and mine's an air threader, it wouldn't make any sense to yours. So a demo, I totally get that that's what you would want. I 100% agree with you, but it's a rare thing if all of us watching would have the same overlocker. So if I turn knobs and dials and things like that, it would make absolutely no sense to yours. But please go onto YouTube, because I've done a whole cushion front using the overlocker and it's gorgeous. I even had, what's his name? Is it, not Adam, who's the other one on Sewing Street? Oh, I can't remember. He was on Sewing Bee. Anyway, he saw my video and thought it was absolutely brilliant. And I said, well, you can take it if you like. You can have it as yours. So, so you might see that on Sewing Street. Anyway, so there we are. We're done, and that is actually Hoggy completed. And if we were to put a cushion in him, which, like I say, we haven't got a huge gap there. Let's be really naughty. I'm going to go to the front so you can see. I'm going to be really naughty and take the cushion out of our fabulous Autumn Bear. Don't forget, go and get yours. £2.99, £2.50 goes to children in need. The other 50p is PayPal costs, or your debit credit card costs on the website. So everything goes to the children in need. Let's see, now this is where you need your seams to be super strong, because look, we're pushing in a great big cushion pad, and how many times has that ripped on you because you haven't strengthened those seams? So, you know, that's what I'm saying. That's why we do the zigzag, do a double row stitching, use your overlocker 100%. You know, it needs to be strong. So look, we've got a little bit of a gap there, but I could put a ribbon there. Let me show you. It looks like he's had far too many pies, but what we could do is put a ribbon there, and actually, that's really nice, and actually tie it together with a big bow, couldn't we? But be careful with children. Anyway, there's our Hoggy, and he's been made into a cushion. So we've got the beautiful Hoggy at the back, which is what our fabulous Jackie made. We've got the Hoggy on the front of the pattern, which are Kath made, which is that one there, which is really pretty. And then obviously we've got the cushion now, and it's really tactile with the prickles. I think you'll enjoy making him. Anyway, that is our Making It Monday project for this week. Obviously we are late for obvious reasons. I hope you had a good day Monday, because I think most of us did. And I hope you go and download the pattern, and I'd like to see a few hoggies around if that's okay with you. And I'll see you on Monday for another Making It Monday project. Again, it'll be the last one for September, so if you're a digital pass holder, this will be your last pattern coming up. I hope you like it. And if you're a gold member, I may well see you on Sunday morning ish. Might be after lunch Sunday. I'll let you know if you're a goldie, because we've got to do our little bird. If you're a goldie, you know what I mean. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Thank you so much for taking part. I'll read your comments afterwards. If there's any questions, I'll answer them. But I hope you will have a lovely, lovely rest of your weekend, and put your feet up, do a bit of sewing. Bye.